Good morning, everyone. Labour has secured a surprise victory in the Batley and Spen by-election, with Kim Leadbeater holding off the Conservative challenge. Mrs Leadbeater, who is the sister of the murdered MP Joe Cox, says the constituency rejected division and voted for hope. That was after an ill-tempered campaign. So Keir Starmer, whose leadership of Labour is under scrutiny, described it as a fantastic result for a brilliant and brave candidate. This is the final result. Labour's Kim Leadbeater won 13,296 votes, beating the Conservative candidate Ryan Stevenson's total of 12,973. And here is the vote share. Labour won 35.3%, the Conservatives 34.4%. George Galloway's Workers' Party of Britain came third with 21.9% of the vote. Both of the top two parties' vote share was down on the last election. Well, our chief political correspondent, John Craig, reports.
I do hereby declare that Kim Michelle Leadbeater is duly elected.
A win against the odds for Labour's Kim Leadbeater after a bitter and divisive campaign, and immense relief for an embattled Sir Keir Starmer.
The focus now is catching up on a bit of sleep, maybe having a few glasses of fizz, and then there's lots to do. And I think the campaign has highlighted that there's lots to do. But I'm going to crack on with it, and I will do my very best to represent the whole of Batley and Spen as their new MP. I'm absolutely delighted that the people of Batley and Spen have rejected division and they've voted for hope. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Clinging on to the seat previously held by her sister Joe Cox will ease the pressure on the Labour leader, who was facing calls to quit if his party had lost. But George Galloway, who came third, is now threatening to challenge the result in the courts.
We have been multiply defamed to the point that I'm no longer prepared to talk with the mainstream media, which is why I'm talking to you now by this live stream. The whole election campaign was dominated by lazy and false tropes about our campaign, about the thousands of people that voted for us, about their motives for doing so, in a way which defamed them as much as it defamed me.
During a night of drama before the result was declared after 5 a.m, Tory MPs denied they were taking victory for granted. And after the result, Conservative sources said Ms Leadbeater's victory was not a Labour win, but a Labour hold. Within the past 2 months, British politics has been turned upside down with 3 sensational by-election results. First, the Tories' victory in Hartlepool on May the 6th. Second, a spectacular Liberal Democrat triumph in the true blue Tory heartland of Chesham and Amersham. And now, here in West Yorkshire, Labour have clung on against all the odds in Batley and Spen. So Sir Keir lives to fight another day. But for Ms Leadbeater and her supporters, it's time to celebrate. John Craig, Sky News, Huddersfield.
Joining us now is the Conservative Party co-chair, Amanda Milling. Hello to you. Thanks for joining us this morning. You were favourites to win. Why didn't you?
So it's a really disappointing result. But first of all, I want to pay tribute to Ryan Stevenson, who's been an absolutely fantastic candidate. He's worked his heart out day in, day out, and also to congratulate Kim. But this was always going to be a really tough battle for us. We didn't win this in 2019. Governing parties don't tend to win by-elections. And we have to be clear on this. This is a Labour hold, not a Labour gain, not a win.
You were favourites to win. I mean, the polls were suggesting that you would get 47% of the vote. You got 34%. Why do you think that is?
I suppose one thing I would always say about elections is only one poll that matters, and that's the one on the day. You know, we fought a really hard campaign, but what I would say is it was a very, very close result. You know, as I say, governing parties don't win by-elections. They certainly don't gain by-elections.
You certainly lost 2 on the bounce, haven't you?
So each of these by-elections is a unique challenge. It was really disappointing to lose Chesham and Amersham. But, you know, we fought a really hard fight. But let's be really clear about this. This is not a great win for the Labour Party. You know, we really kind of took the fight to them. They only won by a matter of just over 300 votes.
But as I said, the polls were suggesting that you were going to win easily. It's the Hancock effect, isn't it?
So there's a whole load of issues that affected, you know, our campaign. It's lots of issues that come up on the doorstep. You know, we fought a really hard campaign. I'm really disappointed, and particularly disappointed for Ryan. But, you know, at the end of the day, you know, this wasn't a great result for Labour.
You have to concede that the behaviour of your former Health Secretary must have had some impact on people in Batley and Spen who are honest, hard-working people and don't like the way he behaved. So,
you know, it was something that came up on the doorstep. I have to be honest about that. But then lots of different things.
What did they say?
They had some issues over the weekend in terms of, you know, what happened. But Matt resigned, and that was the right thing to do. But there was a whole host of different issues that came up. But we also need to remember that governing parties don't gain by-elections. And actually, taking it to such a small number of votes in itself was a tremendous result. Quite extraordinary, I would say.
So the people in Batley and Spen at the weekend were saying, we don't like the way that he behaved, and I'm guessing they also weren't particularly pleased with the way that the Prime Minister said the case is closed in a very superior manner.
So, you know, Matt did the right thing at the weekend, which was to resign. And within 24 hours of the story breaking, we had a new Health Secretary, and Sajid is doing a tremendous job. He's literally kind of working out from day one, because at the end of the day, we're still in the middle of this pandemic. We've got a job to do to ensure that we roll out these vaccines so that we can then open up the country and get back to life as normal.
Any answer to my question? What were people saying about the Prime Minister at the weekend?
So, you know, there's a lot of love for the Prime Minister. You know, he gets a tremendous lot of support on the doorstep. And, you know, as I say, you know, Matt did the right thing to resign, and within 24 hours we had a new Health Secretary.
Yeah, a lot of love on the doorstep didn't translate to a win, though, did it? Let's talk about Matt Hancock. What's happened as far as the investigation is concerned into his behaviour?
So the matter for investigation is something that I'm not here to discuss this morning.
Why not?
The thing is, we had a by-election. We've just had a result in.
Yeah, we've dealt with that. We've dealt with that. Why is there no investigation into Matt Hancock? You're the co-party chair.
So I don't talk about investigations,
Why
if
not?
you understand, because individual cases are such.
Has one begun?
And I'm not, like I say, I'm not going to get drawn into any
Has an investigation begun into what happened?
So, as I say, I'm not going to get drawn into any kind of discussions in terms of investigations.
Why not?
So all I would say
But I don't understand why not. We should know what's happening as far as the former Health Secretary is concerned. He was snogging his aide in his office when he was supposed to be dealing with the pandemic, tried to hang on. Prime Minister said the matter was closed. The British public said, hang on a minute. As a result, he stepped down. We should know what's happening as far as the investigation is concerned.
So
surely it has to be transparent. Surely it does.
So in terms of, all I would say is this morning I'm here on the back of a by-election result. You know, we have literally taken Labour to a few hundred votes.
And you acknowledge as part of that by-election, it was the behaviour of the former Health Secretary that cost you that result.
There's lots of different issues.
So I'm asking you as a follow-up question, what happened in relation to the investigation?
So there was a lot of different issues that came up on the doorstep. And, you
This
know,
being one of them.
actually, let's look at this result. It was incredibly good. You know, we were really so close. And governing parties shouldn't be within a whisker of gaining by-elections.
Yeah, you were close, but as you said, there's only one result that matters, and you lost. As far as him employing his mistress at taxpayers' expense, what's happening as far as that's concerned?
So there are, you know, some of these matters are matters for the government. And, you know...
No, they're matters for the public. They want to know about the former Health Secretary paying his mistress £15,000 of taxpayers' money. What are you doing about it?
So there are processes that we go through in terms of appointments, and that all the processes were gone through in accordance to those. And so, you know, so I think that kind of answers your question.
Well, it doesn't. I have a follow-up, if I may. Did you know that he was paying his mistress £15,000?
So, like I say, there was a story that broke last week. I didn't know any of the details of that. But there are due process in terms of these appointments, and those processes were gone through.
And does that due process allow for a minister to pay £15,000 to his mistress?
So this is a story which, you know, Matt has rightly resigned. He recognised that he did wrong, and that we now need to move on. We're in the middle of a pandemic. Sajid Javid has taken on as a health secretary. He's doing a tremendous job, because what we need to do right now, when they're still in the middle of this pandemic, we need to get these vaccines rolled out in order to be able to get the country back to normal.
Yeah, however, we don't move on until we find out why he was paying his mistress £15,000 to snog in his office.
But that was an appointment that was made through due process.
Well, how can it be through due process when he was paying his mistress? Whatever process you look at, by whatever measure, that is not acceptable to the British public to the extent where you've lost a by-election.
So I know the public will be incredibly frustrated, because at the end of the day, we have all made a huge number of sacrifices. We want to get back to normal, but Matt did the right thing by resigning.
So is the matter closed now? Is that what you're saying?
He's now resigned, so I would see that as kind of the matter is closed. But
so there is no investigation?
As I say, Matt has done the right thing in terms of resigning, and I understand the public are kind of frustrated, have been deeply frustrated by kind of all of the issues that we faced over the last 12 months, the sacrifices they've made. But I want us to all pull together as we kind of get those vaccines rolled out so that we can get the country back up and running.
Will there be an investigation or not?
As I say, I think the matter is closed now. Matt has
So
resigned.
there won't be an investigation into our health secretary during the middle of a global pandemic where we've lost 120,000 people just in the United Kingdom. He's spent some of his time paying his mistress £15,000 a year, taking her on G7 trips up to Birmingham and snogging her in his office. The matter is closed as far as that's concerned. No investigation.
He
broke the law.
So Matt resigned at the weekend. He is no longer the health secretary, and now our focus has got to be on getting those vaccines rolled out and getting the country back to normal.
He broke the law.
I think that people have made mistakes in the UK in terms of the rules during the course of the last 12 months, as you know yourself. And so, I think Matt has resigned.
He broke the law.
Matt has resigned, and
So there should be no comeback as far as the health secretary is concerned, and he should be welcomed back to government within the course of a year, which is apparently what he's planning to do.
Well, the matter for kind of who is appointed to ministerial positions is a matter for the Prime Minister. Right now, Matt did the right thing by resigning.
And the fact that he broke the law, that's the matter closed.
As I say, people have broken the rules, Kay, as you well know. And so, but Matt has resigned.
As you know, you've made the point twice. As you know, I was sanctioned. I was off air for 6 months. I don't make policy. You do. And he certainly did at the time.
He's realised he did.
Does he have to face any comeback as a result of breaking the law during a global pandemic and snogging with his assistant?
He did
not
the
his
wrong
assistant,
thing.
his aide.
He did the wrong thing. He recognises that, and he resigned, and that was the right thing for him to do.
OK. Is there going to be an investigation?
As I say, Matt has resigned.
Is there going to be an investigation? Matt
has resigned, and, we've now got a new health secretary, and, we have got to focus now on whether or, getting this country back up and running, getting these vaccines rolled out.
OK, so when he was supposed to be making policy and when he was rolling out these inoculations and when 120,000 people died and when he was telling people that they couldn't hug their grandmother before they died, all of that while he was also having a relationship with his aide in his office and also paying that aide £15,000 of taxpayers' money, that doesn't warrant an investigation.
So, look, I can understand why the public would be deeply frustrated. We have all made so many sacrifices, people up and down the country who haven't been able to be with their loved ones. But Matt has resigned. He recognised he did wrong. And, the public understandably are frustrated.
Yeah, they are. That's why you've lost a by-election.
The reason we
and you're sitting here this morning and saying it doesn't matter.
So, we didn't lose a by-election.
You said it was brought up on the doorsteps.
What happened is that Labour held the seat. They held the seat only by a whisker.
You were.
This is not a great success for the Labour Party. And
it's
why
a loss for you.
And why it's not a loss for us because we didn't gain the seat. It wasn't ours to lose. It was the Labour Party's to lose.
OK, it's good to talk to you. I'm sorry we're going to have to leave it there. I look forward to you coming back very soon indeed. Thank you. Going to be speaking to the journalist who broke the story that Kim Leadbeater was running for the Batley and Spen seat very shortly indeed. That's Dominic Brown. He is on the show in just a few moments' time. Also, what next for the Labour Party? The party's national campaign coordinator, Shabana Mahmood, MP, joins us at 8:05. And then at 9:30, we are going to be speaking to the woman who was on the Diamond Princess cruise ship as it was struck by COVID last year. Returning now to our top story and the victory in the Batley and Spen by-election, which saw the party cling on to its seat with a narrow majority of 323. Kim Leadbeater was victorious. She is now the MP for Batley and Spen, and she is joining us now. Hello to you.
Good morning, Kay.
Good morning to you. How proud would your sister be of you this morning?
She'd be incredibly proud. Jo always used to say to me, you need to push yourself more, you need to challenge yourself more, and she would be extremely proud.
You thanked the police in your victory speech. How nasty was the campaign for you?
Sadly, we had some pretty ugly scenes last weekend during the campaign. I was subjected to personal abuse and intimidation, and sadly people who were helping me with the campaign had similar. I think even someone got even arrested. And it's really sad that we had that, because I tried to conduct a really positive campaign, full of energy, all about the people of Batley and Spen. So it was very upsetting to see that kind of divisiveness creeping into our politics again.
How disappointed were you not to have a much bigger majority? I mean, 323 is how many you won by. I mean, with 323, you could have lost by 323, couldn't you? It's not a resounding success.
A win is a win, and I'll take that every day of the week. It was always going to be close. You know, politics is tough at the minute, but I think I'm really pleased with the win that we've had.
We were chatting to Amanda Milling. I don't know if you heard her a second or two ago, Conservative Party co-chair, and she admitted that the Matt Hancock effect had an impact on their vote. Is that what you were hearing on the doorstep?
Do you know what? The vast majority of conversations I've had with people have been about local issues, and I think lots of people have tried to make this about other things that are going on at a national level. But what most people in Batley and Spen wanted was an MP who is local, who cares about this area and understands the issues that they're concerned about. And because I live here and I've lived here all my life, I think that really resonated with people.
Why did George Galloway do so well?
I think we've got communities across Batley and Spen who are sadly a bit disillusioned with politics and disillusioned with traditional sort of politicians. One of the things that I really want to focus on is how we get people engaged with politics in a positive way. And I think sometimes, you know, we've had people come here for this by-election with their own agendas and their own egos, and I've played into people's frustrations. My job now is to bring those people together around a shared vision for a prosperous and bright future for Batley and Spen.
He says he's going to contest the result. What do you think?
Listen, I'm focused on the rest of my day, which is celebrating with an amazing team who have supported me throughout this campaign, getting back in touch with my family and friends who I've barely seen during the last few weeks, and then cracking on with the job of being the MP for Batley and Spen.
Yeah, I mean, he did take 22% of the vote, didn't he? And that was on an anti-Labour stance. It does look as though much of the Muslim community was supporting him rather than you. What do you need to do to bring them back into the fold?
I've spent the last few years working for the Joe Cox Foundation, building communities across Batley and Spen and indeed at a national level. And I'll continue to do that. And I think, sadly, the divisive nature of other people's campaigns means that work still needs to be done. But if anyone can do it, then I believe that I can do it, supported by the majority of people in Batley and Spen who just want to live together peacefully, send their kids to school, have a good NHS, look after their elderly relatives, and just get on with their lives. And I think that's what we all want to do now. You know, we've had a lot of attention in Batley and Spen in the last few weeks, indeed in the last few years, and I think we just need now a bit of stability, and hopefully I can be part of that.
And what do the people of Batley and Spen think of Keir Starmer?
Again, most of the conversations I've had with people have been very, very localised. Keir's coming up later on today, and it'll be wonderful to celebrate with him. So I think, you know, let's move forward now as a Labour Party, with Keir at the helm, with me as the new MP for Batley and Spen, and I think have that sense of togetherness within the party that we've had during this campaign, because it's been really, really powerful, and I have been so well supported by this party. And the values of the Labour Party that have connected with people, and I think given us the victory around, you know, equality and fairness and social justice. I think, you know, there's a piece of work to be done, but I feel really proud to be part of that.
What's the first thing that you plan to do when you come to the Palace of Westminster?
I need to meet many people who have supported me during this campaign. You know, I've had so many Labour MPs have come up here to meet me and support me. So I want to go down and say a massive thank you to them. And then I want to crack on with the work. You know, and that really is about getting on with the issues that people have raised on the doorsteps, looking at how that plays out at a local level and at a national level. So there's a lot to be done. Once I've said thank you to all the many people who've helped me, once I've seen my family and friends, then, you know, I'm going to hit the ground running.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the number of elections that the people of Batley and Spen have had to deal with. 5 elections in the past 6 years. It's been quite a roller coaster for them. Is it going to be a bit more stable now?
I really do hope so, Kay. As someone who lives here, you know, we have been through the mill, and it is disruptive, you know, and like I say, we've got a lovely selection of towns and villages across Batley and Spen where people just want to get on with their lives, and when the media descends and when people from out of this area descend, it is disruptive. It's not good for people. So I'm really hoping that we have a period of calm, we have a period of stability, and my role as RMP will be pivotal in that. But, you know, the people around here are just amazing. The conversations I've had with people of this campaign have been so powerful, and you know, I'm really looking forward to working together with them on what matters to our towns and villages.
What did your parents say or what did the family say when you said that you wanted to run as an MP, given what happened to Jo in such a tragic way when she was representing the people of Batley and Spen?
It was a big team decision. It was a big family decision. But, you know, Mum and Dad have seen the work that I've done through the foundation. They've seen the network that I've got across our local area and how powerful that can be. And a way to build on that work is by being our MP. And they were very, very supportive of that. And they always said as well, you know, if you don't do it, you might regret not going for it, you know, whatever happens. And, yeah, it was a team decision. And it's very emotional for us as a family, of course it is. But listen, if I can be half the MP that Jo was, then I'll be very, very happy and very, very proud of that.
And will there be parts of Jo that you want to bring to Westminster? I mean, obviously we know that you're Jo's sister. You also want to be your own person when you come to the Palace of Westminster. But are there characteristics of her that you'll bring along with you for your maiden speech, for example?
Yeah, I mean, I'm Kim Leadbeater. I am Jo Cox's sister, and that's how lots of people know me, and I've never been more proud to be so. But I am doing this job very much as me. One thing I would say, though, is the way that Jo worked on a cross-party basis, I think, is something which I always admired and respected. And I think we don't do enough of that, and we don't talk enough about that. You know, the MPs that I've met and know, a lot of cross-party work goes on behind the scenes. But because it always isn't quite as controversial as some of the other stuff, it doesn't get covered in the way that it maybe should do. So I'll be looking to work on a cross-party basis with anybody who is happy to do that on the issues that matter to the people of Batley and Spen and the issues that matter more broadly to the country.
Now, a quick look at the front pages, which, of course, went to print before we had that result from Batley and Spen. And the Telegraph, to start with, has the PM's plea for patience as COVID disruption in schools continues. The Express leads on Boris Johnson's warning that some COVID restrictions may need to continue after the 19th of July. The Mirror goes with Princes William and Harry unveiling the statue of their mother, Princess Diana, in the sunken garden of Kensington Palace. The Mail sees it somewhat differently, together but still so far apart. And The Guardian has scientists warning nowhere is safe from the extreme heat events that have hit the western US and Canada. Time for a look at the morning's other main stories we now hear on Sky. President Biden has travelled to Florida to meet families and first responders at the site of the collapsed Miami apartment block. Mr. Biden praised the efforts of the emergency services searching through the wreckage and spoke of how the incident resonated with his own previous experiences of loss.
I sat with one woman who had just lost her husband and her little baby boy. Didn't know what to do. I sat with another family that lost almost an entire family, cousins, brothers, sisters. And to watch them and they're praying and pleading that, God, let there be a miracle. Let there be something happen for me that's good. Because I have, like many of you do, some idea what it's like to suffer that kind of loss. So many of them are suffering.
Boy Scouts of America Association has agreed a record settlement in court with victims of historic child sex abuse. Attorneys representing more than 60,000 victims reached an $850 million agreement with the association, the largest in a child sexual abuse case in American history. Virgin boss Richard Branson is to take a ride aboard his own Virgin Galactic into space later this month. The Unity 22 mission will be the first to carry a full crew of 2 pilots and 4 passengers to test the private astronaut experience. The 90-minute flight will go into space for 20 seconds. The company says it aims to make space travel accessible to all if you can afford the ticket price of £180,000. Back down to earth with a bump. Don't know. Naz is here. What's the weather doing, Naz? Good morning.
Good morning. It's looking pretty unsettled as we head into the weekend. And today we will see sunny spells. It will be warm, but there will be some showers for some too.
Look forward to brighter skies. The weather, sponsored by Qatar Airways.
Good morning. Low pressure out in the Atlantic is going to bring some rather unsettled conditions across much of the UK and Ireland through this weekend and into the start of the new week in the way of heavy showers as well as more persistent spells of rain and strong winds. Until then, today doesn't look too bad. It's not going to be a completely dry day, though. There will still be some showers around. And in fact, this morning, there's showery rain across the southeast Scotland, northeast England and a little light rain around eastern parts of England. Otherwise, mainly dry, but cloudy and murky. The mist and fog lifting and clearing, though, to sunny spells this afternoon, but there will be showers scattered around, mainly around eastern parts of Wales, northern eastern England, southern Scotland, then rain to the southwest later.
The weather, sponsored by Qatar Airways.
Our top story for you this morning. Labour's Kim Leadbeater has pulled off a surprise victory in the Batley and Spen by-election in the last half hour. This is what the co-chair of the Conservative Party had to say.
You know, it was something that came up on the doorstep. I have to be honest about that. But then lots of different things.
What did they say?
They had some issues over the weekend in terms of, you know, what happened, but Matt resigned and that was the right thing to do. But there's a whole host of different issues that came up. But we also need to remember that governing parties don't gain by-elections. And actually, taking it to such a small number of votes in itself was a tremendous result.
So admitting there that what happened with Matt Hancock did play out in Batley and Spen. It was brought up, he said, on the doorstep. Let's ask Dominic Brown, editor of Batley and Bristol News, the first paper to share news of Mrs Leadbeater's candidacy. Hello to you, Dom. It's good to talk to you. Thanks so much indeed for joining us. We heard from the party co-chair there for the Conservatives saying Matt Hancock was an issue. Do you think it was?
I don't think I probably didn't help the Conservative campaign, Kay, but we had the Prime Minister in town a couple of times in the past couple of weeks, making some pretty big pledges, especially in Dewsbury in terms of further education and in Batley as well, where he was very keen to pledge to invest in skills. And I think those policies would probably have gone down pretty well in Batley. I imagine there were probably quite a few voters in Batley and Spen who have been looking down the road at neighbouring Dewsbury with all the government money that's been ploughed into the town centre regeneration, with lots of projects coming on the pipeline in the next few years. and thinking we'd like some of that. It probably wouldn't have helped the campaign, but it still was a very, very tight result in the end, wasn't it, overnight?
It sure was. Were you surprised?
It's too close to call for us, Kay. I mean, we were hearing various stories from out on the trail. Some people thinking the Conservatives would take it, some people thinking that Kim would win it for Labour. It's a very diverse constituency, is Batley and Spen. You look at the makeup of the area on the local council, on Kirklees Council. It's got Labour strongholds on the council, it's got Conservative strongholds, and it's got a Lib Dem stronghold in Cleckheaton. So it's a diverse area, and for one party to gather everyone together at an MP level, I think it would be an impressive effort, which probably shows in the result overnight why it was so close.
Yeah, Kim Leadbeater thanking the police after her win. It was certainly bad-tempered at times, wasn't it?
I don't think anyone's liked to see some of the images that have come out on the campaign. There were also scenes which I think spread lots of hope in the area. That there was a big rally in Batley Town Centre on Saturday where hundreds of people joined in the town centre to stand up to racism and all sorts of hatred. Some lovely quotes from people there. We had one of the Batley councillors, saying the importance of standing up to these issues and saying the town will not be divided. And we had other people saying, Jane Aitchison at the Leeds Trade Council, who was also there on the day, saying how Batley is such a great welcoming place and they intended to keep it that way. And the message was there strong and clear at the weekend.
Ryan Stevenson, who was the Conservative candidate, had been accused of being invisible during the campaign. What would you put that down to? Was it because the Conservatives saw, according to the polls, the Conservatives thought it was theirs? Did he think that he didn't have to do too much to win, or what do you think?
Ryan's an experienced local councillor on Leeds City Council. He's been in local politics for a while. Had those two big hitting visits from Boris Johnson in recent weeks. It was always going to be tough going up against somebody like Kim. She's a very, very well-known local candidate, very well-known person. There's a very telling comment when Keir Starmer was in town at the earlier on in June, when he met with Kim at one of the local hotels for a meal. And he said afterwards, when he was speaking to us, that he was genuinely struck by how many people came up to say hello to Kim and how many people knew her. And that was something that really resonated with him. Like, you can't go far in Batley and Spen without somebody knowing Kim. She's been out and about in the community in the last 5 years, involved in so many things. She was always going to be a very tough candidate for any of the parties to take on, I think.
OK. Do you think she will be able to increase that now? It's a sliver majority at the next election, or do you think George Galloway has got his teeth into Batley and Spen now and he'll be back? He's contesting the result, isn't he?
So I hear, yes. I think the turnout, Kay, was interesting overnight. It was less than 50%. You do wonder if an element of voter fatigue is setting in. It was the fifth parliamentary election in the last 6 years in Batley and Spen. And I think what the constituency needs really is a period of stability now, where we have an MP who's at the helm. And it's such a key moment, not just for Batley and Spen, but for the whole country as we hopefully emerge from the final lockdown restrictions in a few weeks' time. There's lots of issues that the country as a whole will face post-pandemic, and I think this, a period of stability is much needed.
OK, great to talk to you. You've not been to sleep either, have you? I'm sure you're looking forward to your bed.
Absolutely. Thanks,
OK,
Kate.
good to talk to you. Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
Rob Powell is in Huddersfield for us this morning. Hello to you, Rob. Goodness me, it couldn't have been a much tighter race than that, could it?
Yeah, very tight, Kay, and a surprise as well. It's not what some of the polling had shown. 323 votes in it. I think what is making the Labour team here in Yorkshire more chipper is the fact that George Galloway took 8,000 votes and they still managed to win. And what they are pointing out is that they were making inroads in some areas where they don't always pick up too much support, and that if George Galloway hadn't stood and those 8,000 votes went elsewhere, then actually that win would have been a lot more comfortable. Now, of course, there's national trends, national political trends that have been projected onto this by-election, but actually the team here saying local issues mattered a lot as well. Things like an Amazon warehouse that was going to be built within the constituency that Kim Leadbeater was against. Nationally, though, of course, this does buy Keir Starmer a little bit of breathing space. The messaging coming out from some Labour sources today is that whilst detractors of the leader were saying this would be a referendum on his leadership, they are quoting that back now and saying, well, if that's the case, we won. But this is not a resounding win. It's a very, very tight win. We will have to see when this comes up for election next, whether George Galloway stands and whether they can increase the amount of votes they have. I think for the Conservatives, there will be a degree of frustration and disappointment. There was accusations that the Conservative candidate here was really standing back from the fray and hoping that Labour and George Galloway destroyed each other so he could come through the middle, and was somewhat invisible. Criticism as well of the Get Out the Vote campaign. But a big challenge now, I think, for Kim Leadbeater after this divisive election to bring everyone together and be a voice for them in Westminster.
When Joe White went to Wembley on Tuesday, they came away with more than just the result to celebrate. Joe, who is non-binary and identifies as queer, posted on social media about how welcome they felt while wearing makeup in the stands. Their tweet was even picked up by a member of England's victorious squad. Ivor Bennett reports.
When Joe White posted this selfie after England beat Germany, it was to celebrate not the victory on the pitch, but one off it. It was the first time Joe, who identifies as queer, had been to Wembley in full makeup. A big step given their past experience of homophobia in the stands, but Tuesday was very different.
People complimenting me on my eyeshadow and my glitter England flag that I did with some silver eyeshadow and lipstick, and my shoes. And it was just all really, really positive and absolutely no issues.
Joe's positive experience was then shared by England midfielder Jordan Henderson, who wrote, "Hi Joe, great to hear you enjoyed the game as you should. No one should be afraid to go and support their club or country because football is for everyone, no matter what."
Having an international player use their platform to highlight positives and that football is for everyone is something that I think we can all endorse.
And he's not the only one. England captain Harry Kane wore a rainbow armband during the win over Germany to mark the end of Pride Month.
It's clear football has come a long way in recent years in terms of inclusivity. The slogans here outside Wembley, for example, are all about community and diversity. But words are one thing, of course, actions are another.
Only last week, UEFA refused a request by the German FA to light up a stadium in rainbow colours for a match against Hungary, because, they said, of the political motives.
I can't say for a minute that we've actually solved it. I don't think we'll ever solve it.
Astley Pitter is a founding member of Stonewall FC, the first gay football club in Britain.
How long, you reckon, before we have an openly gay current Premiership footballer?
Oh, how long's a piece of string? A footballer's career is very, very short, and it's about making, as much money as you can. So a lot of players are probably thinking, gay players who are actually playing will probably say, you know what, this is too much of a risk. And I don't really want to be that experiment to see what happens if I do come out.
But for the fans and amateur players who have come out, things are only getting more inclusive, so that the beautiful game is beautiful for all. Ivor Bennett, Sky News, Wembley.
Back to our top story this morning, which is, of course, that the sister of the murdered MP Jo Cox has pulled off a surprise victory in the Batley and Spen by-election. Kim Leadbeater won her seat by just 323 votes in what turned out to be one of the most bitterly fought parliamentary by-election campaigns in living memory. Well, joining us now to get some reaction is the Conservative peer and pollster as well, Lord Hayward. Hello to you, Lord Hayward. Thank you for joining us on the programme this morning. It was looking like a nailed-on win for the Conservatives. What went wrong?
I think essentially the people in Batley and Spen were keeping their views to themselves. There was obviously a lot of confusion as to the amount of impact that George Galloway would have. And in the end, the Labour Party held on to a seat with a small majority. So not sure it went wrong, but it's clearly disappointing for the Tory party and a great relief for Keir Starmer.
We heard from I don't know if you saw my interview half an hour or so ago with the co-chair of the party. She said that Hancock came up on the doorstep.
Yes, with a small majority, small defeat like this, you can always point to things which made a difference. And I think it's reasonable for people to say, well, with a small majority, this might have influenced the results.
And potentially the way that the Prime Minister tried to close it down by saying the matter's closed?
Oh, I think it's a combination of both sides. It's not just Matt Hancock. It is a decision of the Prime Minister because of the apparent delay in taking action. When you lose an election, particularly by a small margin, you can point to all sorts of different things, but clearly that will be something that will come up.
So how do you interpret that? How does the Conservative Party interpret that? How does the government interpret that? Do they have to think we can't take the public for granted, even though we do have a stonking majority in the House of Commons?
I'm not sure that you could accuse them of taking them for granted, but certainly there are messages there for the Tory party. The supposition that every brick in a red wall is going to fall automatically has clearly been put to bed. They're going to have to campaign continuing the levelling up process, but at the same time, there will be pressures from Conservative MPs in the South to say, look, you know, we lost Chesham and Amersham a fortnight ago, so please pay attention to us. It's not easy when you get a disappointing result, but in the circumstances, it's a Labour seat, but expectations had been built up.
Yeah, that's too on the bounce, though, isn't it?
It is, but they're in very different sets of circumstances, and therefore they have to be judged as such.
So what does the Prime Minister need to do? We know that Keir Starmer is literally hot-footing it up to Batley and Spen to congratulate the new MP. What does the Prime Minister have to do?
The Prime Minister has to undertake a detailed analysis with people from Conservative Central Office to find out why the Conservatives didn't quite take a seat, which was previously Labour held. Look at the messaging, look at the general impression that the government has at the moment. Clearly, the party is in the lead overall in national opinion polls, so it's not in that bad a position, but it needs to review, as it should, whenever you get what is a disappointment, but not a disaster.
And as far as the Matt Hancock affair is concerned, we heard from the co-chair saying that the matter's closed. How do you think that is going to play out with the public?
Well, I think I've heard interviews overnight of people and this morning of people going back to work in the factories in Batley and Spen saying that's another matter. I think people have moved on from it now. That's not something that is going to run and run and run. There's an element of upset that there was quite naturally because a decision should have been taken earlier. But we now move on and we've got, hopefully, we've got Freedom Day on the 19th of July. So people's general lives will move on.
So there doesn't need to be an investigation into the appropriation of public funds? I
didn't say that.
It was a question at the end. It was a question at the end. My intonation didn't, yeah.
My apologies. No, you clearly got to look into any question that people raise validly and answer them. And that's true of government and in opposition.
OK. We must let you go, Lord Hayward. It's good to talk to you this morning. Thanks for taking the time. Come in and see us next time.
I would love to. I'm looking forward to being back in the studio.
Yeah, we're looking forward to having you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. A quick look at the weather for you now. Here's Naz.
Look forward to brighter skies. The weather, sponsored by Qatar Airways.
Good morning. Low pressure out in the Atlantic will be bringing some rather unsettled conditions into this weekend, with heavy showers expected as well as more persistent spells of rain and stronger winds developing across some parts of the south. Until then, it's not too bad for today. There's still going to be some wet weather around, and in fact it's quite cloudy and foggy this morning with some rain across southeastern parts of Scotland, northeast England and some eastern England areas as well. Most of that rain will tend to fade away, but into this afternoon we'll see bright or sunny spells developing, but some heavy showers around eastern parts of Wales, in particular the Midlands, central and eastern England, northern England, southern Scotland. Some of them could be heavy and thundery, particularly for southeast Scotland, northeast England. Then later, rain from the southwest spreading northeastwards overnight.
The weather, sponsored by Qatar Airways.